there, Dr. Bill Crawford here, psychologist, speaker, author of 8 books, host of 2 PBS specials. Here again to bring you another tip on how to help you create the life you want. Specifically, how to use my life from the top of the mind philosophy to bring more clarity, confidence, creativity into everything you do. Today, I want to look at the concept of what we can and can't control. There is a quote that I'm sending out to those 6,000 folks on my quote list. By the way, if you'd like to receive one of my favorite quotes each week, along with 2 or 3 paragraphs about how to apply that quote to life, all you got to do is go to my website, billcrawfordphd.com, or just Google Bill Crawford Ph.D. I'll come up on the first page. Go to the subscribe page, hit the subscribe button, put your name and email address in, and each week I'll send you one of my favorite quotes along with 2 or 3 paragraphs about how to apply the quote to life. This quote is one of mine. It says, if it's out of your hands, put it out of your mind. I like it. It's simple, it's short, it speaks to how we find ourselves, I think, worrying about a whole lot of things that we can't control. So if it's out of our hands, put it out of our mind. So have you ever tried to put something out of your mind? I put it out of my mind, I put it out of my mind, I put it out of my mind. Have you noticed that's really, really hard? And the reason it's hard is because we are thinking about what we're trying to not think about, all right? And the problem with worrying about things that aren't happening or trying to put things out of our mind that we're worried about putting in our mind is that it's being fueled by worry. And for those of you who follow my life from the top of the mind philosophy, you know anything that is fueled by worry is interpreted by this middle brain, the limbic system, as dangerous, throws us into the lower brain, the brainstem. We go into fight or flight, triggering adrenaline, noradrenaline, cortisol, that kind of thing. That's where we get stuck down there, because often when we get anxious, stressed, frustrated, whatever, then we try to fix whatever made us anxious, stressed, frustrated, whatever. That often we can't because it's out of our control in the first place, and that throws us down there again, and we get caught in a cycle down there. So what I like to say is, okay, maybe it's not about really putting stuff out of our mind. Maybe it's what we put in our mind. Maybe it's not worrying about what we can't control. Maybe it's focusing on the things we can influence or control. And people say, oh yeah, but Bill, there's so many things in my life that I really can't control. And of course there are. Maybe there's some things that we can control as well. I found this list that might be helpful. It says we can control our beliefs, our attitude, our thoughts, our perspective, how honest we are, who our friends are, what books we read or media we watch, how often we exercise, the food we eat, how kind we are to others, how we interpret situations, how kind we are to ourselves, how often we say, I love you, how often we say thank you, how we express our feelings, whether or not we ask for help, how often we practice gratitude, how many times a day we smile, how much effort do we put into what's important, how we spend or invest our money, how much time we spend thinking around negative thoughts, whether or not we judge people, how often we worry about the past or the future, how we respond to a setback, how much we appreciate the things we have. Now, I could go on, but I think you get the picture. If we'll focus on the things we can influence, and if we focus on putting those thoughts into our mind versus trying to get the things we can't control out of our mind, we are coming from the purposeful brain, the neocortex, what I call the top of the mind. This is the part of the brain where we trigger serotonin and endorphins versus adrenaline, noradrenaline, and cortisol. It helps us be more purposeful. It thinks clearer. It helps our body work better. I mean, it's just a win-win for everybody. So what I would encourage you to do is ask yourself the question, when you find yourself worrying about something you can't control, rather than just going, okay, I'm going to put it out of my mind. By the way, if you can just put it out of your mind, that's great. But if you have difficulty, notice that it's probably about putting more things in the mind. There's a quote that came to me when I was working with a client that said, you know, when we're creating our experience of life, it's really not about what we're stopping, it's about what we're starting. We actually stop things from the lower 20% of the brain. We start things from the upper 80% of the brain. So if you want to start focusing on the kind of things we can influence and control, if you want to start putting in your mind the things you would recommend to someone you love, I encourage you to embark on that. It is a process. It becomes a habit after a while, but it has to start off with a purposeful way of being. I encourage you to start in the morning doing that, kind of reboot around lunchtime, do it, going into the afternoon, reboot about going to the evening, decide what are the thoughts and ideas you want to put into your mind. Because as we start to create a habit of putting things into our mind, the kind of things we would recommend to someone we love, after a while, and after a relatively short while actually, that starts to affect our experience of life in a very positive way. Hope you're enjoying these videos. If you do, please hit the like button, share them with your friends. Feel free to subscribe on YouTube, Pinterest, iTunes. I post these on LinkedIn, Twitter. Feel free to follow me in all of those social media. Each week I will give you one of my favorite quotes along with 2 or 3 paragraphs about how to apply the quote to life from my Life from the Top of the Mind philosophy. In the meantime, here's to you, bringing more clarity, confidence, creativity to everything you do. And I look forward to seeing you in the future.